Welcome to yoga. My name is Kristen and I'm a health coach with Orion. Today in yoga we're going to focus on opening up our hips just a little bit. There are lots of major muscle groups right around our hip area. And we work those muscles a ton, even just walking around every single day. And so we're going to work on opening those muscles or loosening those muscles a little bit to relieve some of the tension that we hold in our hips. We're going to start laying down. So you can go ahead and find a comfortable position, just laying flat on your back, or if it's more comfortable for you to bend your knees and place your feet on the mat, that's okay too. Just whatever is most comfortable for you. Let your shoulders relax and your hips. A lot of times people don't realize when their hips are relaxed or not. Well, if you look at your feet, if you're using your muscles to hold your feet pointed towards the ceiling, then you're using the muscles in your hips. So just let your feet drop open. If your hips are really tight, your feet might not drop open that much, and that's okay. You're welcome to close your eyes. And as always, we are going to start with our breathing. Just pay attention to where your breathing is at right now. Inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your nose. Let your breathing be your only focus right now. Focusing on your breathing helps to bring you to the present moment, and that's the way we should enjoy yoga, right in the present moment. And if it feels good to you, you can begin deepening your breath quite a bit. Just listening to your body and doing whatever feels best to you. On your inhales, let all that fresh oxygen go down into your stomach, and don't be afraid to really let your stomach expand as you inhale. Continue with your nice deep breathing. A few more nice deep breaths. And once again, if it feels good to you, make those breaths even deeper. Maybe take some of the nicest, deepest breaths you've taken all day. Next inhale, bend your right knee up into your chest, and go ahead and hold that knee in. Try to keep your other leg relaxed, and even try to relax your right hip. Just use the muscles in your arms to keep this leg pulled up. As you pull that leg up, you may feel a pinch in your hip. That's normal. That's okay. Just try not to force through it. Pinching feeling just indicates some of the tight muscles that are in there. You can move your knee around a little bit if it feels good to get some movement in that hip joint. Just be gentle and just observe maybe where you're the tightest or where you get the most sensation. Carefully release that right leg, and we'll bring our left knee up. Same thing, try to release those hip muscles and just use the muscles in your arms to pull that leg in. Be gentle and just pull it up to the place where you might feel a pinch. And once again, you're welcome to move that leg around if you want. That leg. We'll work our way up to a seated position and just go ahead and swing your legs back behind you. We'll come to all fours or your hands and knees. You want your thighs to be parallel here, not too far apart, but not right next to each other either. And we're just going to begin taking our hips in circles. Go off to the right side first. And just move slowly, becoming more and more aware of all those muscles in your hips. And let's switch directions. We'll go off to the left side now. Doesn't have to be fast. Really take your time working through these circles. Being really gentle to our hips, our muscles. And remember, as we go throughout our yoga class today, that if there's anything that feels really uncomfortable to you, brings a lot of pain, that pose just might not be for you, and that's okay. These poses in yoga, they're great for most people most of the time, but we all have our own poses that just don't feel good to us. So don't force your body into anything. Let's do one more nice big circle to the left. And then coming back up to all fours. Take your knees a little bit wider and then bring your big toes together again. And we'll shift our weight back into child's pose. Your arms reach forward. Your forehead can rest on the mat. And as you're here, really let your hips release. Feel that opening in your hips here. Your stomach and your chest just rest between your thighs. Come back to your nice deep breathing here. Make sure you haven't lost that. Let it bring you back to the present moment. One more nice deep inhale and exhale. And then on your inhale, carefully shift your weight forward. You can bring your knees back in. We'll tuck our toes under and come up to downward facing dog. This is our first downward facing dog, so just be really gentle. Stay up on your toes, keep your knees bent, and just lengthen through your spine. Think about pulling your shoulder blades down towards your back pockets or towards your waistband, so away from your ears. And then very carefully step both your feet up into your hands and reverse swan dive up. Exhale down to heart center and go ahead and take a few nice deep breaths. At this point, I'm turning the other direction on my yoga mat, and it might be helpful for you to do that as well. So just turning so that you're facing the long side of your mat rather than the short side. We'll go ahead and take our stance a little bit wider. Reach your arms out overhead. This is called star pose or 5-point pose. And just stretch. Take a nice deep inhale maybe. That helps initiate the stretching. And then exhale, bend your knees and your elbows and come down to goddess pose. Inhale back out. And exhale down. As you bend your knees, you want your knees to be going over your feet. So if you need to adjust your feet or your stance at all, that is just fine. Exhaling down. Inhaling up. Do it one more time. Down and inhaling back up. Go ahead and release your arms. We're going to change the position of our feet just a little bit. So let your toes point towards the long side of the mat rather than being slightly turned out. We'll inhale up and exhale, swan dive down. Reaching through the top of your head. And then just relaxing here at the bottom. Letting your neck relax, your head hang. And we'll reverse swan dive back up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Once again, lengthening through your spine and through the top of your head. Coming down, and we're stretching through our legs again. And reverse swan dive up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale, swan dive. And reverse swan dive up. Exhale, heart center. Inhale up. And one more time, we'll exhale, swan dive down. Hold here for just a little bit longer. And if you want to heel toe your feet out to a wider stance, you're welcome to do that. You can either just let your hands rest on the ground. You can reach out towards your feet. Or sometimes I even like to reach my hands out as far out in front of me as I can without putting weight in my hands. Letting that stretch my shoulders and my back just a little bit more. Carefully bring your hands to the ground in front of you, and we'll just heel toe our feet back into where they were. And reverse swan dive up. Exhale down to heart center. And we're going to work our way down into a pose called prayer squat. It's a pretty intense opener and strengthener for our hips. And once again, we want our toes turned out just slightly so that our knees can go over our toes as we bend. So just begin to sit down. Bend your knees and sit back. And we want to get to the point where our elbows are right in between our knees. Now, even when you're here, try not to look down at the ground, but to keep your chest lifted. Your spine is nice and tall. And then squeeze your knees in and press with your elbows out. So there's quite a bit of muscle work going on here. And you'll feel the opening and maybe a little bit of a pinch in your hips as well. If it's too intense, go ahead and take a break, relax. If you can keep going, hold it for just a little bit longer. And then bring your hands to the ground, straighten your legs, and reverse swan dive up. And let's exhale down to prayer squat again. Really squeezing in with your knees, pressing out with your elbows. And then hands come to the ground. Straighten your legs. Relax your neck. Reverse swan dive up. And let's come down again, exhaling to prayer squat. Releasing your hands, straightening your legs, and reverse swan dive up. Bring your hands to heart center. Take a few nice deep breaths. Letting your feet feel grounded, letting your spine feel nice and tall. And then carefully, we're going to take our stance a little bit wider again. Just heel-toeing your feet out. And then we're going to point our right foot towards the short side of the mat and just come down to our lunge. You can go ahead and come up onto your back toes as well. And try to keep your back leg really nice and straight. It's going to help you feel a stretch right here in the front of your left hip. But if that's too intense, lower your back knee to the ground and release your back foot. You can still find a stretch there as well. And carefully begin to walk your hands towards the center again. And we're just going to walk all the way over to the other side. So turning your feet towards the other side of the mat now. And once again, try to keep that back leg nice and straight if you want that challenge. Or you're welcome to lower your back knee to the ground. Carefully walk our hands back to the center. We'll just reach our hands out in front of us again. Let our necks relax, head hang. And then begin to walk your hands back towards your right foot. Turn your feet again to the short side of the mat. And this time we're going to bring both hands inside of our right foot. Once again, remember you can lower that back knee to the mat if you need to. Otherwise, try to keep it really nice and straight. Send lots of energy through that back leg. If you feel like you could use quite a bit more opening here, and you think it would feel good to your body, you can lower down to your forearms. Try to keep that right knee close to your body rather than just letting it open up. Carefully come back up to your hands. We're going to walk our hands back to the center and then all the way over to the left side. We'll do the same thing. Bringing both hands inside that left foot. Either keeping that back leg straight or bending the back knee to the ground. And if you want, lowering down to your forearms. Back up. Just walk your hands back to the center. Once again, let your neck relax, your head hang. And then very carefully reverse swan dive up. You can bring your feet in a little bit closer. Exhale down to heart center and take a few nice deep breaths here. Carefully, we're just going to come back with both feet facing the short side of our mat. Inhale your arms up overhead Exhale, swan dive down. Stretching through the backs of the legs here. You can bend your knees a little bit if you would like. We'll inhale up to a flat back. And then release back down. And let's step back to downward dog from here. And we've done quite a bit of opening through the fronts of our hips. We're going to work a little bit now on opening through the back of our hips. So from here in downward dog, let's take our right leg up into the air. It doesn't need to be high. Bend your knee, bring it into your chest, and instead of stepping the foot through, we're just going to place the leg on the ground in front of us. And then go ahead and settle down into this. You can let the back leg extend, the back foot relax. This is called Pigeon Pose. This can be a pretty intense stretch, but I'll give you some little pointers to make it work for you. So with your leg out in front of you, you're going to get a more intense stretch the further away your foot is from your body. So if you think about making your leg parallel to the short side of your mat, you're going to get a pretty intense stretch there. Or if you want to just lighten it up a little bit, bring that foot in a little bit closer to your body. You can even let your heel come in almost to your other hip. Once you're in whatever position is best for you, make sure your weight is still center. You don't want to be leaning over onto that right hip. That will help you continue to feel the stretch. The tricky thing about this pose is releasing the rest of our muscles and the rest of our body, even when we're feeling a pretty intense stretch. I like to come down onto my forearms. You can stack your fists, use that as a pillow for your head. Or if you have a yoga block or a real pillow nearby, you're welcome to grab that. Use whatever you need right here in between your arms to rest your head. And keep breathing here. Don't forget to keep taking your nice deep breaths. Carefully, let's come back up onto our hands. We'll tuck our back toes under and lift our weight off that front leg, and then very gently step back to downward facing dog. I like doing downward facing dog right after pigeon because it's a pose where you can really tell the difference between your right hip and your left hip. Now that you've opened up through that right hip a little bit. Let's now take our left leg up into the air, bend the knee, bring it into your chest, and lay that foot on the ground in front of you. Go ahead and lower your back leg and begin just working your way into this pose. Remember, if your foot is closer to your body, it's going to be a little bit less of a stretch. And if your foot is further away from your body, it's going to be a little more intense. So take a second, go ahead and adjust that for you. And then begin to work your way into a more comfortable position. Keeping your weight centered, not sitting down onto that left hip. And it's absolutely okay if there's space between that left hip and the ground. It's another place you could use a pillow or a yoga block if you wanted to. You could just slide it right underneath that hip for a little more cushioning. Carefully begin to come back up onto your hands. Tuck those back toes under and lift your weight off that front foot. And gently step back to downward facing dog. Really lengthening through your spine. You're still welcome to keep a little bend in your knees if you would like. We'll come up onto our tippy toes and bend our knees all the way down. Go ahead and just shift your weight back. Sit into child's pose for just a moment, remembering to let those hips relax. On your next inhale, shift your weight forward, back to all fours. I'm just going to cross my ankles behind me and roll back. If it feels better for you just to swing your legs out in front of you, that's okay too. We're going to do a little twist. It's going to help our spine a little bit, but we're also going to feel a little bit of an opening in our hips. So let's just place the left leg on the ground in front of us. And as I place it on the ground, I try to make it so that my knee is pointing forward rather than out to the side. And then we'll just take our right leg on top of that. Wrap your left arm around that right leg and then just gently twist behind you. Make sure you turn and look over that right shoulder so that your neck is involved in the twist as well. And if you want to feel more of a stretch in that hip, you don't necessarily have to twist more. You just hug that knee in a little bit closer. And carefully release the twist. We'll just switch our legs. So now bringing the right leg to the ground in front of you. See if you can make it so that that knee is pointing straight in front of you. And then cross the left leg over. Wrap the right arm around the left leg and then gently twist. Remember, as we're twisting, it's so important to keep your spine really nice and tall. So if that means you need to twist a little bit less, that's okay. Very carefully release. Now we're going to take both legs, bring them to the ground, and bring your feet together in front of you. You've probably heard this called butterfly pose before, and that's what it is. I like to grab right at my ankles, even maybe sliding your hands right under the ankle bones, and you'll feel your hips open up just a little bit more. Sit nice and tall as you're here. Try to let those hips release. And if you want, you can even move your legs a little bit. Might help release some of those muscles in there. Just be gentle though. And if you want more of a stretch, keep a hold of your feet or your ankles. Bring your elbows out towards your knees and then carefully begin to fold forward. As you're doing this, keep your spine really nice and long and just give your knees a gentle push, opening up just a little bit more. Come back up. We'll bring our knees together. I'm just going to turn on my mat so that I can extend out. It's time for our final relaxation. So go ahead and release your legs. You can use your elbows to carefully help you work down. Remember, you want to be really comfortable for this pose. So if you want to put on socks or grab a jacket or grab a pillow or blanket, you're welcome to do any of that. Go ahead and take a minute and do that now. And then as you work your way down onto your mat, let your back relax, let your shoulders relax, and let your hips relax. Remember, that means that you're just letting your feet flop open. You're welcome to close your eyes and just take a few nice deep breaths here. And then go ahead and let your breathing come back to whatever is most natural and easiest for you. Let your body just sink down into your mat. The energy center or chakra that's within our hips represents the energy of safety, stability, your basic needs for survival. So try to feel that energy within you now, just the safety and stability. The assurance of who you are and your ability to survive. Energy center or chakra within our hips is sometimes referred to as the root chakra. So if you'd like, you're welcome to visualize maybe what your roots would look like. What are the things that make you feel safe and stable? Those roots long and deep and thick, or are they still growing? No matter how you visualize your roots, try not to judge, just simply observe. carefully we'll prepare our body to move again. Start by wiggling your fingers and your toes. Taking a few more nice deep breaths. And very carefully begin to roll onto one side. Choose whichever side you would like. Bring your knees up in, find a comfortable fetal position. And from there, gently begin to press your way up to a seated position. You can sit cross-legged or however is most comfortable for you. Make sure you let your spine be nice and long, your shoulders be relaxed. For just a moment, close your eyes and let your body memorize what it feels like to sit in this really nice posture. And then let's inhale our arms up overhead. Exhale to heart center. And thank you so much for joining me for yoga today. Once again, my name is Kristen. I'm a health coach with